All right, and welcome to another episode of our podcast. My name is David Levine, founder and CEO of HealthTech Solutions. And today's topic we have is what successful healthcare clinics do differently, lessons in patient retention. And I'd like to welcome our guest today, Janesta. And Janesta, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks, David. Nice meeting you today. I am the founder and CEO of Crescendo, which is a concierge practice in Silicon Valley in California. I'm also a pediatrician and actively practicing in the practice as well.
All right, well, fantastic. Glad to have you here with us today. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right into our first question today. So when you look at clinics that excel in patient retention, what is one thing you constantly see them doing differently behind the scenes that most people never notice?
I think we're reasonably good example of that. And I think probably the biggest thing that we do is we listen carefully and are very responsive to our patients. We try to respond to a phone call or a text or an email. I mean, we respond to emails within 24 hours, but typically way more quickly than that. And phone calls and texts, we try to respond essentially immediately. We have the luxury of being in a concierge practice, but I think even in a different style of practice, like patients being able to have access to their providers, to be heard and to have a response to what they need really makes a difference to them. And I think it really increases loyalty to the practice.
All right. Phenomenal. And so, kind of getting more into about your practice. So, I know you've mentioned you take a very personalized and family centric approach. So, what systems or processes have you put in place to make that level of care consistent as you grow? So, what systems or processes help you do that?
So we first of all, our staff training is very robust and ongoing. Our staff is really engaged in our mission. We've defined our values and our mission very specifically in our practice, and we talk about it all the time with our staff. And I think that really keeps us on track with how we interact with our patients. On the individual practitioner level, each practitioner does a weekly huddle with their team to go over the whole patient panel and any either outstanding issues to figure out what we need to track, what we need to be moving forward on. Our staff keeps what we call an outside appointment calendar, where everything a patient does that's outside of our practice goes onto a calendar. So if they see a specialist or they go for an imaging study or labs outside of our practice, we have it on the calendar so we can chase those results in case it doesn't get sent to us. Because as you know, there's a lot of opportunity for those things to kind of fall by the wayside if you're not actively tracking it. I like our EMR reasonably well. Also, it's pretty user-friendly. We have a smaller EMR called Elation, but it's pretty easy for the team to use. And, we've established systems and methods within our EMR to communicate with each other and to track things and, put notices out in the future for things that need to happen in the future.
All right. Well, very good. And since launching your practice in 2021, what operational or administrative challenges has surprised you the most?
It surprised me. I mean, I think HR has been kind of the most surprising challenge. The interface with the patients, I feel like, we're doctors. We know how to do that. And our staff is clinical and they're really quite skilled with the patients as well. I don't know, keeping the employee handbook up to date and managing all the little issues around all the HR things. And to be fair, I'm not particularly interested in it. And so I think we had to figure out ways to make it happen effectively and accurately and support the staff. I also deeply believe that we as a practice and as humans can't take care of our patients well if we are not taking care of ourselves and each other. And HR is part of that. A fractional outside COO. And so between the two of them, we can manage all of our HR in-house.
Perfect. And so I guess kind of as a follow-up, so obviously I know y'all have your focus on the medical side and your specialties in what you do, but how do you balance essentially your clinical side with running the business side of a modern clinic?
Yeah, I mean it's challenging and it's a lot of collaboration on part of all of the team. We do in our practice we keep pretty small patient panels, again, because we believe that each provider can give the highest quality care when we can proactively think about our patients. Like even when they're not in front of us, they don't necessarily need to be calling us and saying, I have this problem or that problem. And you can't do that with too many patients. There's actually research that's been done that kind of nails what that number is, which we think is around 100. So we each maintain a panel of about 100 patients. Usually I can manage CEO role and manage my panel at the same time, but sometimes it gets really busy or, multiple people are sick at the same time. And then I really rely on my other physician partners to help back me up and help take care of the patients. Patient primacy is one of our core values. And so everybody's really on board with really providing a good experience for the patient.
All right. Well, no, sounds good. It sounds like it got a great team set up that everyone is able to kind of pitch in when and where needed.
Yeah, and we actually, that is one of the things I love about our team. People really have each other's backs, and we don't let anybody kind of float around unsupported.
What part of your day-to-day work would you say brings you the most energy? Is it the clinical side, the leadership aspect, the relationship building with family, or some combination of the above?
I think it's kind of a combination of all of those things, and relationship building is really important to me, and I think that kind of straddles both the clinical side and the sort of leadership administration side. Now, I feel very lucky that I landed in this kind of practice in this field. It really suits my temperament and my goals. I love working with the families that I work with, and I love engaging my team in working with the families. I think the team is also really feels rewarded by those interactions. And then at the same time, because our relationship is so strong and taking care of the patients, that relationship really translates into, how people respond, to my leadership in running the practice. I think we're pretty effective, I think. I don't think we strive as much for efficiency because we have such a small number of patients. We strive for it being extremely personalized and extremely timely, and really giving our patients like what they need. And I think we do that very well.
And currently, are there any big initiatives or improvements that I know being that we're kind of at the end of the year that maybe you're focusing on for the new year, whether that might be clinical programs, patient experiences, or operational upgrades that y'all are excited about or would be happy to share?
I apologize. We're always striving toward increasing excellence. So I mentioned that we are pretty serious about our values. Our values are patient primacy, increasing excellence, engendering gratitude. All decisions that we make and all efforts that we undertake, we run through those core values to make sure that they fit. And so as we go into, year end and beginning of 2026, we're doing some restructuring of the business structure, which we think is going to is going to support the physicians in the practice better and allow us to, consider supporting patients in other ways and potentially other markets. We've just brought in a new pediatrician and a new adult medicine doctor. That was in response to, we needed more pediatric support, but we also heard from our patients that they really wanted a female adult medicine provider. So we found a spectacular person on that front. And we've started dipping our toe into subspecialties. And our aim is to only engage subspecialties that are best in class and difficult to access in our community. We currently have a pediatric ophthalmologist who's for sure best in class, and because that's an area that's difficult to access in our community outside of the academic medical center. And we have an allergist who does both environmental and food allergy. As we go into 2026, we're considering whether there are other specialties that fall into that same category of being best in class and difficult to access in the community that we will need to consider bringing into the practice. And then we have we're always contemplating technology and how to bring tech into the practice. We're just starting working with a platform that will harness and collate all of patients' data from wearables and labs and imaging so that it's kind of all in one place and can be trended over time, which is a pretty powerful way of interacting with patients around their health, particularly those people that are interested in longevity and that are making changes in their behavior and their treatments.
Thoughts? I'm curious what y'all have thought about AI or what your plans might be around AI.
Yeah, it's super interesting and I think a really, really fast moving area right now. My pediatric partner has been really involved in AI in the medical world and recently was at the TED AI conference in San Francisco, and so brought back a lot of information for us. We're actually experimenting with a couple of different AI scribes, which is pretty interesting. And I would actually, those are getting pretty advanced and they're pretty effective. But I mean, other than that, like well, there is one other effort that we're undertaking, which is working with a AI company to develop some agents to do some things within our EMR, like, pulling old records and doing prior auths and some things like that to increase like our administrative efficiency for the staff. But I think, our take on AI in medicine is that it's moving really rapidly, and it's not totally clear to me where it's going to go. I think it has the potential to change even primary care medicine in a really dramatic way. I do believe that the kind of medicine that we practice that's very, bespoke and very individualized and very relationship based will use AI as a partner and not as a replacement. I mean, our like if AI can be used to help us have conversations with our patients and get information for our patients, or for that our patients may bring to us. I'm optimistic that it's not going to replace us.
Yeah, AI is a great tool, and from what I've seen, I don't know that we're even anywhere close to being able to replace a lot of key functions in society at this point. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's easy enough, so if somebody, like one of the super basic things that I think everyone is doing now is people, like plugging their symptoms into, you know, some kind of whether it's chat GPT or whatever, and seeing what they come up with. And it's pretty interesting actually. But for the most part, with the patients that I work with, then they might come to me and say, okay, here's what chat GPT said. What do you think? Which I think that's a great way for patients to look at it. Like, let me see if I can do some research, get some information, and then talk it through with my.
Curious to understand so others can maybe get a sense of the thought process here. What led you to that decision, and how has it been before having and now after having that support?
I mean, it's been a game changer for us. We were, as you can imagine, trying to sort of cobble it together on our own in the beginning. And I would first of all say it's really valuable to have the expertise of somebody who can, when there's a problem, step in and solve the problem, particularly in healthcare. It's often quite time sensitive. And, when we have an IT issue and we're trying to take care of patients, it can be really problematic and it could even be dangerous. So for me, that foundation of just having like a person with expertise who's responsive and can like fix something in a timely fashion is very, very meaningful. And then that other layer of the security piece, it's so much less visible to all of us, but it's critical. We are bound to maintain patient privacy, and that's more than us not talking about our patients outside of the office, right? It's especially because everybody takes their laptop home and everybody has their phone with them everywhere. So it's, to my mind, absolutely critical for that security piece to be professionalized and really have somebody in charge of that who does it well and knows what they're doing. I think, it's not realistic for us as doctors to think we could be an expert in everything. It's just, we can't be.
I mean, and would you say since getting the support, have things been more efficient, or have you had less of a need to say, hey, I got a problem, I need help?
Well, I mean, I do think so. Our IT company, like when we bring in a new employee, they like set up the laptop and the phone and everything with all the systems and the security on it. So that's hopefully a preventative thing that maybe keeps us from seeing some things we might otherwise see. And if I lose my phone or my laptop, first thing I do is call them, because they can, the second it gets turned on, they can wipe it and so the patient's data would be protected. But I think also just the way our systems are set up, hopefully it feels to me like we've run into fewer problems. But the main thing is when we do have a problem, it gets solved much more quickly than it did when we were on our own, just flailing around trying to figure it out.
No, that's good. No, I was just trying to get a sense and hopefully give others an understanding that it's kind of what you're not seeing behind the scenes.
Right.
All right. Well, sounds great. Well, I do appreciate the time. I know we're kind of here at the end of our time, but are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience?
So anyway, thank you.
I appreciate that. And if anyone would like to learn more about, the work that they're doing, we'll have all the information in the description below this video. Janesta, again, want to thank you for your time and coming on to chat with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, David.
Thank you.